Hi everyone, welcome back to Passion Pursuit Purpose, where passions, pursuits, and purposes collide. I'm your host, Abigail Johnson. This show will showcase persons of different passions, how they're moving forward in purpose, and it encourages you to do the same. I'm so excited for what this show has in store, and I'm even more excited for the journey as we move forward in our purpose driven lives. Comment what's your favorite part of this week's episode. Make sure you like, share, subscribe to this channel, and tune in for more. For more is to come. Our guest for today is Peta K. Hope. Hi!
Hi,
How are you, Peta K?
I'm doing well. I'm doing great
Right.
actually.
Yeah, we all need to be doing great in these times. Don't have to be always positive and everything. So, for those who don't know who Peter K is, like, who are you? Like, well, you can give a little short introduction to who you are.
So, hi everybody. I am Peta K and I am a fun-loving creative, right? Basically. So I love art. I love painting. I love writing. I love anything that has to do with craft, making something, putting my hands to something, making it better. Right. I also love to cook and
Okay.
I love to plan and execute as well.
Yes. Yes, we are here for it. We are here for it all. As a creative myself, we just click on a different level, Pizza. We
Right.
always have our moments and we can just go off on that tangent. So, when did you realize, though, what age, at what point in life you realize that I need to embrace this part of me?
So I realized that in university, so that was like 2 years, 3 years ago, because it was something I've always done. I was a child in class, I get cussing because I done the pen ink and the sit down and use the pencil and draw on the side of the books. My notes were always color coordinated because I like color. So I started embracing it in university, basically, and that was a journey itself.
All right, so tell us a little bit more, like how it made you feel, how that journey looked like.
So it started in UCCF, and I remember specifically we were getting ready for a club day, and I was supposed to be helping. No, not necessarily helping. I was sitting by the side. They were preparing their stuff and all of that stuff, and they had a chart that needed to be done, kind of like a selfie. Like them time they have the little selfie board.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Understand? And people have the
Mm-hmm.
selfie board. And said I
Definitely.
wanted to make one of those. And so I was there. And it was my reputation, I think, from high school that I'm always with a scissors. Always, I walk with everything in my bag. Scissors, markers, pens, everything. So them ask me, and I was just like, okay, sure, fine, no problem. And afterwards, when I step back and look, it's like I wasn't necessarily okay with how it looked. I wasn't satisfied. But everybody around me was looking and they were like, no, like you work neat and you work fast and it's efficient. And so that is where I really realized that I really do have a thing for art. And I do love art. I love craft. I never really paid it any mind before because, the situation growing up, I wanted to be a teacher because, you have to be a teacher, doctor, lawyer, etc. And so that's what I was focused on. I did not think that what I could do was worth making a fuss or excitement over. And so in that moment, it kind of like it really did hit.
Okay, yeah, I understand completely what you mean because definitely, especially in our culture, you just have that set list of professions that your parents want you to get at, like this is what you need to do, because they want you better off than they were and all that kind of stuff. So when it comes on to stuff that are more creatively inspired, those type of things kind of are shunned, and it
Right.
poses a challenge sometimes for real, because you really have to introspect and like really wonder, if this is who you are, then why would there be a fight to do something else, or why is there a clash into finding exactly what you are to do, if this is what you love and your parents don't really embrace it. I definitely understand. So was there like a low point in your life? I know we're kind of switching the tangent a bit, but for creatives, I know we are meticulous, we're able to give, and we're passionate about certain things. And it's even on the flip side, in the negative side, low points can be really low. Do you have, or have you had any low points in your life, and how did God have to take you out of that?
Let me tell you, my life looks like all low points at one, right? So while going through high school, I suffered from depression, really bad. But I'm grateful for it, because that was where I really tapped into certain areas like poetry. I did a little bit of songwriting, a little bit,
Excuse me.
right? That's where I tapped into really like calligraphy, writing, and all those little stuff. So me having to express myself through art, that's how I found I expressed myself. I also found that keeping a diary was really important to me, because it helped me to not keep everything bungled up in my head. Because what I realized is that as a creative, one of the things that we tend to do is to be really hard on ourselves. And it goes not only for art, but in every area of life. And so you get because I remember it was that bad one point where my English teacher was just like, Peter K, I know I grade hard, but you cannot be good at everything. It's impossible, and it's unrealistic for you to put that expectation on yourself that you will pass or excel, like that you would do super great at everything. You need to know when to step back and when to put your effort into it. And that was one. I remember I started university, and university was a whole different...
Ooh, child. Oh, man.
University, it was just university by itself, let me tell you. And I remember the same thoughts, some of the same stuff that were going through my head from high school that came back. When I tell you, like it really plagued me, it did. How did I get out of it? I had a conversation with somebody from my church, and she said to me, you have to control your mind. And so you can go through a bunch of deliverance, and people can carry you to the altar, and they can pray for you. But until you learn how to guard your mind and control your mind and your thoughts, and literally sit down and have control over it, because the thoughts are going to keep coming back. You get me? Especially if it was really heavy, like all you were thinking about is just that it's coming back. It's going to come back. I'm not going to tell us that you have to pray and you wake up the next morning and the sun has shine and it disappears. The temptations come back. But it's a mind, like when I tell you, the Bible says, like, be transformed by the renewing
come on, preach.
Your mind. It is true. And that's exactly what had to happen. So I had to learn about that. I had to learn to trust in God, trust in His sovereignty, and in the characteristics of God and His character, that He never fails. And so one of the things that really gave me a bit of a booster in the times where I was really down. Another thing that helped as well was the nature around me. Yeah. And I remember at one point even feel as if I wasn't supposed to be here. And then I remember the scripture that, like, Him clothes the flowers of the field, and the birds in the air, they get fed. And I know it was just those two specific things that were pointed out. And then I look at a leaf, and the fact that there are so many veins in a leaf, and how much time that it would take me to recreate that look. You get me? To
Yeah.
put that much veins and stuff into it. And the fact that he created that and much more, much faster than we could ever do. As a matter of fact, we can't do it. And it reminded me that not only is he in charge, but he can do all. Like
Come on.
literally, he does everything. Um, and so I changed my focus had to shift. So instead of focusing on what was happening, I started to learn how to focus on the God who is and the God who can, and the fact that he is worthy of everything and that he literally cannot be out of control.
Right.
Yeah.
Girl. When I mean hitting nails on the head, he is Jireh, and a lot of persons will be exposed to that song that says, he's enough and we're already loved, we're already chosen. It's really all about our mindset. Like, where do you see yourself? What position, what perspective do you hold? And the only person that can help you navigate through low points and rough patches is God and yourself. Like, you have to lift yourself. God will not force anything on you. And we present our bodies as the living sacrifice. We are the ones that come to Christ and say we are willing to, and we will do what it takes, because we know that we can do all things through Christ. And so transformation really takes place when we make the decision and believe that God can keep us. And so I really love that you mentioned that it's through these points that's where you found your position of expression, your form of expression, how you journal, how you document, how you draw, how you write, and all of these things were not absurd or missed by God. God knew exactly where he needed to be at this point, and he knew that he had to pull those things out of you. And sometimes, even though we don't even like it, those things are seen, and he uses certain situations to get his glory nonetheless.
And let me tell you, not only does he place you in a time to pull certain things out of you, I remember strategically in those periods, I would only have, so let's say if 5 persons were around me, it was a good 5 persons.
Come on now.
Persons, when I tell you community, and the persons that were around me were persons that were not only people that will sit down and cry with me. As a matter of fact, after a while, they stopped crying with me. They said, "Peace, okay? I'm not sit down and bawl with you again because you've been crying for too long.
Wow.
Dry your eyes and get up."
Man.
Yeah. And I remember those times, because it was those times that you learn how to literally stand up and push. And it's those times that you learn that you can literally, your smile is dependent on you. Because there are some times when I think, especially going through depression and all of that stuff, you need, and I will say this, if you are going to get counseling, right?
Please do, please.
Because it helps. And I had persons around me, right, that would help me in that regard. And it's just like, yo, after you go through all of that, it's a whole thing to reprogram and to reset yourself so that you can literally stop being in a place where depression is your comfort food.
Right. Oh, girl, you came today to spit the gems. Oh my. Whew. That one was powerful. That one was powerful. Don't continue. Go as the Lord leads.
Yeah. So that was it. Like, I remember, because I was at an online prayer meeting one night and I was really out of it. And I found my friend on the phone because I was there crying and sobbing. And she was just like, because I was there crying, I was talking to her, and she was like, "Peter, I'm not doing this video tonight. I'm not. I love you. I really do.
Wow.
But no, I'm not doing this video." Because I had the choice whether I wanted to sit down and cry or get up and make moves. And I chose to sit down and cry. And I knew it.
Yeah.
And so because she knew it, she didn't tolerate it.
Wow. Yes.
Community.
Community is important. I would always say to my friends that separation and isolation are the same but in different perspectives. God separates us, but the devil will isolate us. And in isolation, that is really, really dangerous because that's where the thoughts get louder, the night gets darker, the room gets smaller, and you just feel like in despair and all alone. I pray for those who are watching that God will give you community, the right people, the right covering, the right friends, the right persons that will pray and intercede for you. Because at the end of the day, you're not an island and we are here to help each other. So you mentioned even about journaling, and I know that you have a blog going on. So tell us a little bit more about the blogging.
The blogging was solely spontaneous. I had no plans whatsoever to have a blog. I remember the blogging, the idea, it literally just came to me one night. Started a website, I was playing around. But at the first time I wrote an actual, like a real piece, it was for UTech UC production. And I remember that piece so well. It was the first piece I ever wrote and it was like 2 pages long. And I was so shocked. But that's where it came from, is the idea that I could literally, because you watch people like, Preston and Jackie.
Come on.
Genetics.
Yes.
And then I went, I want to do that too.
Girl.
One night. Well, I didn't sit down. I was asked to do it. So I didn't know I could do it until I was asked to. And so that's where the idea came from. And then for the blog, I started with the intention of putting stories out there and things out there that are really shunned. And let me explain, because I know everybody talk about these things nowadays. So I'm going to explain. The first piece I ever wrote for the blog was titled, well, I don't remember what it's titled, but it was basically, because I remember what I wrote about, but it was basically my story.
Mm-hmm.
And it was talking about the penned story. Penned, okay, meaning something that was held back, mm-hmm, and something that is now written.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of things that I went through that I heard in church that there are certain testimonies that are not public testimonies, because you don't talk about those things in public. I remember the year before I was planning a production for UCCF with a friend of mine. Yeah. And the production was basically about cycles, specifically leaning into masturbation, porn, etc. Those things that are deemed alien for some and then the norm for others. Oh. And I remember afterwards I was told of course it's something that was done before, but to the extent that it was done, they hadn't seen it in that light before. And the way the play actually ended, it ended on a bad note. Ooh. It ended with everything going worse than how it started. Yeah. And then there was somebody that came up afterwards to speak on it and pray about it and all of that. And so the thing for the blog was basically a continuation from that, saying that one, there are certain things that you're in that you have the power to break away from. True. And sometimes that breaking away means going to somebody for help. And after coming out of it, there's no need to be ashamed of what you went through. There's no need to say, this is a story that doesn't deserve a platform. You can just feed it to one person.
Yeah, you're right.
Right. And so that was really the idea of it. And it was also coming from the standpoint where I know there are a lot of Christian writers, but the blog is really like a straightforward thing.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, see it here it is.
Hit the nail
Um,
right on the head.
right. I feel like we have too much sugar in our meals these days, where we have so diluted some of the things that need to be said. And it's kind of that straightforward thing.
Okay, yeah. And I have read, man, I've read some of the blog entries and I'm just like, God, oh, I didn't need this one today. It just holy and just dripping. You just have to really say, God, this is really what it is and this is what's happening and we need to submit our hearts to you because this is really the situation at hand. So if I'm going to place your info below, you better go tune in and read up on those blogs because I'm sure for sure you will be blessed by it. So we're gonna pause just a little bit before we end. And I know that you are artistic. So before you talk about God speak, right? I want you to we're going to play a little game, right? And it's going to be entitled Color the Word. So I'm going to give you a word, and in the quickest time possible, you're going to give me the first color that comes to your mind, and this that describes that word and why you think so.
All right.
Quick time, all right? So the first
All
one
right.
is strength.
Red. Um, because red is a very bold color, unapologetic. Yeah.
Period, right? Okay, what about bitterness?
Bitterness, I'd say gray.
Okay.
Gray because it has a gloominess about it, but sometimes bitterness can be sweet. You get me? Because sometimes gray have that little elegant thing about it, like you use it for
when you're accentuate other colors, don't.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Perfume.
Perfume, I'm going to go with pink because it's typically flowery and a lot girly.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good point. And the last word is God.
When I think God, I think white. White because it's bold and pure.
And he's a holy God. Come on, eh? So tell us a little bit about God Speak now and what's it all about?
So God Speak is heaven on earth through art. It is bringing a next level of creative to earth through art, through paintings, through blogs, through crafts. And there are lots of stuff coming, poems, songs, dancing, right? It's bringing that next level because and I'm gonna explain it this way, growing up, what I've heard about being creative is singing on a choir and saying Psalm 23 for speech. Right? And when I thought about it, and it was through a conversation with you, because we were speaking about prophetic painting, and I realized how much more we have not tapped into being creative. And I think even if, for example, I compare even the secular industry and even the Christian people that we have around, I find that the persons in the secular world, they put a lot more energy and time normally into their crafts, and it shows. And so there is a level of quality that when we're dealing with kingdom, it must be upheld.
Right, it must definitely. We can go on and on about it. Listen, the standard that we see that needs to be there sometimes is a little lacking in every aspect of the creative. And I know that God has placed you, especially you, in this time, this space, this country, this culture, for us to the creatives that are really pursuing God and seeking God and wanting His will and His heaven on earth. He's placed us here for moments where we can truly replicate or even give the imagery and the understanding of heaven on earth and what that really is
Right.
like.
Because God is not a limited God. And he's not bound to any definition or to any norms, and dare I say traditions. And I do believe that there are levels, there are things that are there in heaven and creativity that we have not yet seen, that we have not yet unlocked.
We don't even reach the hallway to the door. We're just chilling on the outside of, and God is just like, but this side though, you don't reach this side of the house. You know, they're chilling on the patio,
right,
cruising,
says like,
and
let's tap in.
Right? Yes. And
let's
so,
tap in, because art is ministry as well.
Ministry as well. You're so true, and you're right. So, even though I would like you to give a word of encouragement to the doubting creatives, the ones that really have not walked and stepped into the fullness of their identity. Just give them a word of encouragement and a word of prayer just for over the persons that are even watching, that God may just expand their perspective of creativity in his presence. And yeah, go ahead.
So, word of encouragement, what I would say is be bold. Of course, you need to work on your craft. You need to build a craft. But don't put that much pressure on yourself to the point where you cave into a box. It's unhealthy. It's not good for you. Right? Be bold. Work on your craft continuously. And in knowing who you are and being strong in your identity, what I would say is definitely, one, watch your community, the persons that are around you. Watch what you're hearing and feeding yourself. Two, your identity can only be found through Christ. And I realize these days that we have an issue, I think especially, and I realize I have had the struggle with it as well, seeing ourselves through God's eyes. Seeing ourselves through God's eyes. So that is what I will say. I will also say, don't become satisfied. Don't become complacent. There's always more. There's always more to God. There are more levels to God. And always seek Him. Seek continuously. And right, so I think that would be it. My prayer for the creatives is that we will see and experience God on such a level that has not been done before, that the next level, especially with what heaven is and how beautiful heaven is, and the visuals of heaven will be made manifest in earth, in Jamaica, in a way that we have not seen before. I pray that, and I know this as a matter of fact, that there are persons out there that are going through this very procedure, are going through this very process where you realize that there are more worship experiences, there are more persons are coming out and focusing on worship and ministry. I do believe that we are yet to tap into more. And so I pray that God will give you kind of like that. I pray that you become unsettled so that you will desire and yearn for more. Yeah.
In Jesus' name, we believe it. Come on now, we believe it. Amen. God will ruffle the feathers. He'll shake up the box. He will blow the wind. He will do what he needs to do, and you will not just stay and let it settle, but God will push us all into that place of seeking, into that place of being purpose driven, into that place of truly understanding what it means to have heaven here on earth. Thank you so much, Peter, for being my guest for today. I am really blessed. I thank you so much for availing yourself out of your schedule. You know, I know you could have been everywhere else or anywhere else, but thank you so much for sharing your testimony. Thank you so much, and we are so excited for what God Pick has in store in all of its facets. We're excited. So make sure you follow Peter on Instagram at Godspeak, and her blog entitled She Wrote It. The information will be listed below in the description. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, hello, at underscore aka Johnson and at Passion Pursue Purpose for updates in the week. Stay tuned for new episodes where we feature special guests and they share how pursuing their passion and God's purpose have influenced where they are today. Comment again what's your favorite part of this episode. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel for updates in the week. Tune in more to what's happening over on this side of the vineyard. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.